District Attorney Sandra Doorley, Sheriff Todd Baxter, New York State Supreme Court Judge Alex Renzi paid $200,000 who waits for me by himself in a little room without a prosecutor present, without a witness box for testimony, without a table for a prosecutor, without a table for a defendant, without any evidence that I've committed a crime. My name is Chris Chichester. I have never committed a crime, and I have been in jail 6 times. And 6 times a prosecutor has not talked in court. I do not know the names of my prosecutors. And again, today I'll attempt to force you, the District Attorney of Hatred and Corruption, Sandra Doorley, to disclose the names, and you refuse. This is the receipt for certified mail return receipt that I sent to you yesterday at the post office on East Main Street in Rochester, New York. I filled out green cards that will come back to me that I sent yesterday. What I sent you, I'm going to read. This is what I sent you. This document here that you already received. You know how I know you already received it? Because these documents, the Freedom of Information law I'm going to read, came back here on these cards. Sheriff Todd Baxter, that's M. Fowley. That says right there, October 4th, 2022. What I'm going to read here, and it's also in PDF that I'm emailing to you, and I'm changing my email addresses so you can't block me. I love the fact that you're trying to block me. Right here, what I'm going to read. You received District Attorney Sandra Doorley, I think that's RSP, right there. Alex Renzi, I don't know, that's Megan something. Alex Renzi received it. $28,000 bald-headed widow, policy messer with the most hideous wig since Phyllis Diller, received it by L.C. Wright, I think. And how much is she paid? Is she your clerk? Please tell me you have clerks. Because a clerk for a judge should only exist for elite judges such as the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals in Albany. If you have a clerk, $28,000 policy messer, I demand to know how much this person's paid. And how did you hire this person? Do you have a clerk too, James Fimelli Jr.? You embrace violence, James Fimelli Jr. Same Jermaine L. Bettman. Sound familiar to you? Ask former employee of the District Attorney's Office, Jessica Wagner. I'll be in touch with you soon about Jessica Wagner, Jermaine Bettman, and how you freed this violent criminal, James Fimelli Jr. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Here you are again, James Fimelli Jr. and Paul C. Metzler. Everything I'm going to read, you received, and you will refuse to comply with the law because you're above the law, because you're corrupt. The law is a joke to you. The law is for other people. So, I have these cards here with people with hearts of gold. You wouldn't know anything about that. I'm going to show you a card here of a man that I'd like to thank. Mark Phillips, Public Defender's Office. Thank you, Mark, for your representation of me, and to Regina Harper of the Public Defender's Office. This Mark Phillips is a man of the highest character, ethics, and integrity. And I know he doesn't agree with everything that I do or say. But he has defended me. And he's defended me with honor and character and decency. You wouldn't know anything about honor and character and decency. Sandra Doorley, Todd Baxter, and Alex Renzi, and Paul C. Metzler, and James Fimelli Jr. This is Amanda West Bay Rood, the United States Department of Veterans Affairs, who's helping me. She's helping me with housing. And she's helping me with other things, too. A heart of gold. Robert J. Valente, the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. He gave me an iPhone. This iPhone I have here, I say gave me. It's from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Oh, there's my little guy. Pardon me for the smile and the laugh, but it's my dog there. And I have talked about him. And people love their dogs. And I have that on there. I adopted my little guy. He's a Shih Tzu lollipop farm from inside my ex-girlfriend, Laura Riley. And he came to my house to demand my dog, Todd Baxter. And perhaps I'll talk about that again. I've talked about that at length. People love their dogs with everything that they have. And here you are coming to my residence to demand my dog. How did the cops show up to the home of an innocent citizen to demand his dog? That's just a freak show, lunatic fringe. Do you know the telephone exists, Todd Baxter? This is why people hate the police. Showing up to my residence to demand my dog based on one phone call from a 50-year-old man who lives with his 70-year-old mother named Rajalina Kumar Shah. Have you heard of the telephone, Todd Baxter? You call me and say we're going to complain about you walking your dog. So, and legal assistants of West New York. So I just want to say these names again, because these are individuals that have the highest character, morality, and ethics. And you, Todd, Baxter, and Sandra Doorley, can display that you don't have the highest character, morality, and ethics. You can ignore every single one of these Freedom of Information Law documents. It's Mark Phillips, Assistant Public Defender. Thank you, Mark. Amanda Westpay, Wood, United States Department of Veterans Affairs. Thank you, Amanda. And Robert J. Valente of the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. Thank you, Robert. Thank you for everything you've done to me. So, now, I'm going to emphasize things, and I will repeat things, because corruption requires repetition. I have told you specifically why you, Sandra Doorley, and why you, Todd Baxter, are corrupt in a previous YouTube, and I will continue to do this. And then when I get to the point where I'm going to contact the United States Department of Justice, Attorney General Merrick Garland, Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Kristen Clark, United States Attorney for the Western District of New York, Trinity Ross, Governor Kathy Hochul, Majority Leader Speaker in Albany, I will have done 18 plus months of work leveling you as corrupt. And I would hope the individuals I contact would agree with me. So, you got it. Everything there, you got it. And please do this, Todd Baxter, because certain cards have not come back to me in the last week. This is you refusing when I was initially demanding payroll again. This is specifically precisely why you're corrupt. I had to demand your payroll. I believe it was at least 20 times before you finally sentenced me. And that's how I discovered that Michael Radler was paid no money. I'm going to be relentless in contact with you about this Michael Radler. Do you pay Michael Radler private money from your campaign accounts you created in 2017 when you were elected sheriff, or 2021 when you were re-elected sheriff? Or do you pay any amount of money to Michael Radler that's private money for him to go into Monmouth County Sheriff's Office? Do you know what a joke you are, having a $0 employee? And the answer is no. You don't. You're in a race car at Watkins Glen, and a YouTube that's attached to this email, I ridiculed you for being in that race car. Just sitting up on a horse somewhere. Was that a horse farm somewhere? You're on a horse, you're in a race car, and you're putting this online. You want people to know about this? If you're going to be doing these ludicrous things that are totally disconnected from being the sheriff of Monroe County, don't tell anybody about it, Todd, baby. So, my little guy, cops coming to my house. Man, my dog's sick lunatic fringe. So, this is Freedom of Information. You can ignore everyone. This is dated October 7, 2022. Today is the 8th. The reason why I am reading it the next day is because of these cards. These cards are going to come back to me. When they do, I'm going to be on here again. I'm going to show you the receipts. This is coming today. It should have arrived today, and I know it's Saturday. So perhaps you're not in the office. But when you get in the office on Monday, this is going to be there. And you know what you're going to do? You're going to refuse to comply with everyone. My name is Christopher Chichester. I've never committed a crime. Freedom of Information Law. The internal disciplinary records or documentation for employees of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, that Sheriff Todd K. Baxter is reprimanded, terminated, disciplined in employment at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. Do you understand that language, Todd Baxter? Is this absolutely clear to you? Are you confused? If you're confused about this language that I just read, and you are because you're corrupt or you just pretend you don't understand, here is my name right here, Christopher Chichester, my address, which I'm not going to say because it's on here, and my email is cchichesterjuf4@gmail, and my phone number, my new cell phone. It's all attached. If you're confused about what I'm demanding, I'm going to read it again for Sandra Doorley. Just the name has changed. And you're confused. You refuse. Freedom of Information Law. The internal disciplinary record documentation of employees of the Monroe County District Attorney's Office of District Attorney Sandra Doorley. That District Attorney Sandra Doorley has disciplined, reprimanded, terminated from employment at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. Your director of the grand jury, Michelle Crowley, indicts me and I'm not called to the grand jury. This is specifically precisely why you're corrupt. I leave my residence on August 28, 2020 and walk alongside my residence. Here come running at me $85,000 Don Benedetto of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office and his fellow psychopath with the name Houlihan. Now pay attention, you party-switching diva from hell. I've said this over and over and over, including in writing, an email, registered mail, return receipt. When I began to run, I never stopped running. Sandra Doorley, if I began to run, when I began to run, I never stopped running. I can't swing a hammer at anybody. I run alongside my residence. I grab a hammer next to my bike. I run up the back porch. Houlihan grabs my arm. I pull away. I run through the sliding glass door. I never stop running. What crime did I commit? I'm charged with attempted felony assault by Houlihan in the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. Michelle Crowley convened the grand jury. Well, I don't know the grand jury exists, number one. Number two, I'm not called to the grand jury. Houlihan perjured himself to the grand jury when he said I swung a hammer at him. I went to the Monroe County Public Defender, Regina Harper, played the body camera footage for me. It shows clearly I ran the whole time. I do not know if those links are still live. I'm going to get on here again, hopefully in the next 7 days, and I'm going to try to play those links on my phone, where I'll play the link and hold my phone up, and then you, Sheriff Baxter, can see how I ran away the whole time. And if I'm running away the whole time, I can't swing or hammer at anyone. And this concoction of attempted felony assault and party switching stooge, befooning criminal Todd K. Baxter, I'm told by Alex Renzi in the New York State Supreme Court, doesn't exist. Because in one of my appearances, that's exactly what he told me. The names and salaries of every public employee at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter. The names and salaries of every public employee at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office of Sandra, Doorley. What I will do when I have the resources, because it does cost money to be on here and make these copies, and everything I'm doing costs money, which I have to be careful about. I will demand your payrolls in every 6-month period since you first took office. And that includes you, Todd Baxter, since 2017. I think you, Sandra Doorley, since 2013. Because I want to see how you gave raises to everybody and you will refuse. This is what I'm going to tell the control. I will tell the control of the state of New York, Thomas P. DiNapoli, to audit you. And I'll also say, ask for their payrolls in 6-month periods, and then you can see the corruption of these two offices. Are you giving $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 raises? I would like to know. When I was a public employee, I was given those type of raises. But I'm not serving in a district attorney's office or a sheriff's office. I am immediately fireable as a political employee. I don't have any type of protections that a sheriff office employee has, or I believe a district attorney's office employee. I'm guessing now, and I could be wrong about that. But when you work for an elected official, and this same thing is in Washington, D.C., then that elected official is accounted to votes, and they can pay those employees in a small office of only 20 staffers whatever they want. This is a massive Monroe County Sheriff's Office. At least I believe it's massive in the way you smashed me into a million little pieces. Not so much with the district attorney's office, but how do you do raises? How is that done at the sheriff's office and district attorney's office? Will you provide me your payrolls in 6-month periods since your first day in office so I can look at the employee names and see how you've been delivering raises? And the answer is no. This is why you're corrupt. Corruption in public office, especially for a governor or a United States senator, is frequently tied to mismanagement, abuse of public funds. And I demand to know how you pay your employees for overtime or time and a half when their 41st hours work. When I was a public employee in Albany for the majority leader and governor, there was no overtime. There was compensatory time, and then your hours accumulated beginning with the 41st hour, and you could have 500 hours and then take that 500 hours off and go work somewhere else, such as on a campaign, and still collect your paycheck. But there was no overtime. When I worked as a public employee in Washington, D.C., the United States House of Representatives employee for Congressman Mark Smith, and the United States Senate employee for Senator Olympia Snow, there was no overtime. And staffers would talk about these things. And these jobs are competitive. And I was grateful to be there. And I didn't care about overtime. I didn't think about anything like that. And I just wanted to be there. And I wanted to work in the New York State Capitol. I wanted to work in the Senate Russell building, the House Rayburn building. And money's not everything. And I was content with my salary. But I would hear staffers talk about how there is no overtime and how there would be staffers that came from the private sector where they could make money working overtime or in other places. And I have read stories over the last 20 years about public employees, especially in civil service, who abuse overtime. And that's what I'm attempting to discover in your offices, and you're refusing. This foil I'm about to read, I've written over and over 50 times. I've written this foil in 18 months. This specifically exactly is why you're corrupt. I'm going to read this to you. You've already received this foil. You signed for it. This foil you signed for. I'm reading it to you on YouTube, and you will still refuse to disclose how you pay your employees for a 41st hour, overtime, time and a half, however that's done. And you, Sandra Doorley, party-switching fraud and criminal, know that you can use that weasel-type lawyer language to escape what I'm demanding of you. So Comply with what I'm telling you to do, Todd Baxter and Sandra Doorley. How do you pay your employees when the 41st hour is work for either overtime or time and a half? Freedom of Information Law. Total cost of overtime, time and a half, or pay beyond a base salary is calculated at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office of Todd K. Baxter. Total cost of overtime, time and a half, or pay beyond a base salary is calculated at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office of Sandra Doorley. If, in fact, you decide to comply with the law, then I believe that a list of your top 10 overtime employees at the Sheriff's Office and District Attorney's Office will enrage the citizens of Monroe County. So what's the answer? Sheriff Todd Baxter and District Attorney Sandra Doorley. Do you understand what an absolute and total joke you are? And how I'm using this instrument called the Freedom of Information Law, demanding information from you, and attempting to learn and discover if you're managing public funds with integrity and honesty, and you're refusing. And when you demand information, you better receive it. The hypocrisy of you two is unrelenting, sickening, and nauseating. When you demand information, you better receive it. I demand information from you, and this is not the first, second, third, or fourth, fifth, or 20th time I've demanded this, and you're refusing. This specifically exactly is why you corrupt Sheriff Todd Baxter and District Attorney Sandra Doorley. What's the climate like at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office for women? Michelle Crowley or Julie Hahn? Do the male employees comport themselves with the highest ethics, morality, and decency? Are you aware, Michelle or Julie, any female employee, as you understand the term, being sexually harassed by a male employee? 99% of the time it's the males doing this. What's the answer to that question? Michelle Crowley, who thinks I'm a ham sandwich. I will not obtain an answer using Freedom of Information Law or demanding it in writing, which I have over and over. There is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which I'm going to contact. And there are other state agencies and federal agencies that can have regulatory power and control over you, where you will have to respond to this question about sexual harassment. I have talked to my female coworkers that I work with directly, and other females that I knew, especially female employees that work for the then 212 members of the state legislature, because I worked there for 10 years. And it really is disgusting what I witnessed in Albany as a young man. And when I was 25, 26, 27 years old, and as each year went by, I became really disgusted by it even more so. I wasn't used to it. I was just thinking, how do they possibly behave like this? There was a senator from Western New York, I'll say his name because everybody knows him, is just president. And his employee, her name was Pat Briggs. And everybody knew that Pat Briggs was the employee of Just President, the married Just President. She was sleeping with Senator Just President. Everybody knew this. The concourse goes underneath the Capitol, and you would see Pat Briggs with Senator Just President. And it was this open secret right there in Albany that this was the senator's girlfriend, and he was having sex with Pat Briggs, and that's just the way it was. This happens all the time, I should say, when I was there. I do not know about now with Governor Kathy Hochul. And it is of such disgusting, sickening frequency that Andrew Cuomo was forced out of office because of his aberrant behavior in doing the exact things that I first saw in 1990. I went to a fundraiser once, and a senator was there with a woman, and they left, and she came back, and her dress was on inside out. And me and my fellow staffers would laugh about this periodically about, can you believe this guy and her? Because they were so drunk, and they couldn't wait, and they wanted to do something with each other, which included her taking her dress off because her dress was not put back on the right way. I'm really trying not to laugh because these things are really serious because they affect the morale in the offices. When a senator is having sex with an employee and the other employees know about it, that destroys morale in the office. I knew a chief of staff that worked for a state senator. He would call his employee luscious. That was his word for her. He wouldn't call her by first name. He would say to her in front of the people who call her luscious. So These things happen. There's different ways that sexual harassment manifests itself in the office. Calling someone luscious, as disgraceful and sickening as that is a lot different than forcible touching, trying to fire someone because that employee won't have sex with the boss, and other ways. I mean, it can happen 500, 1,000, 5,000 different ways. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. That repulsive, disgusting, extra-constitutional district attorney's office, sheriff's office. You know what I'm talking about too, Kathleen Miller. In a moment of honesty, you can answer this question. You won't. I'm going to try to find this here on my phone. My phone will cut out sometimes, and that's why if I'm looking down, I'm looking for photographs that are on my phone. And here's the one that's going to come up right away. It's not the one I'm going to look for, but down this hallway, this is what the library entrance is right here. I did not know when I moved to Penfield with my ex-girlfriend, Laura Riley from Webster, that Laura works in the library. The library is right next to there. This is the hallway. When you open up the door, you walk down this hallway, the library is to the left over here. Laura would open up this door and go to the left. I don't know that down the hallway here is Penfield Town Court, even though my girlfriend I live with works at Penfield Public Library. This is what a joke Penfield Town Court is. And I've told you, you party-switching diva from hell, Sandra Doorley, to redirect defendants away from $28,000 Paul C. Metzler and James B. Money Jr. So no citizen in Penfield will ever have to make this walk down this nauseating hallway ever again, and you will refuse. So, cost of a surveillance device. I'm looking for the camera on my phone, and I would hope that here it is. I have it now. Now, listen to me, you skinhead party switching stooge, buffoon, and criminal Todd Baxter. What is that called? What's that called? What part of 1984 do you live in, Todd Baxter, if you don't think that that's a surveillance device? Is this private technology on this building at 2025 Penfield Road for a business called Consumer Insights? Or did you buy that camera and put it on there for me? Regina Harper has shown me the images. When I was calling your surveillance device, your fellow psychopaths like Michael Radler, Kathleen Miller, $101,000 William Tadeo were calling Lindsey Barron in the Monroe County Sheriff's Office to come to my residence. That's a camera also called a surveillance device. So corruption requires repetition. Todd Baxter, that camera right there, is that private technology on the building in 2025 Penfield Road? Or did you buy it to fix it for me and walk through a parking lot 4,000 times? What's the answer? Because when I called it a surveillance device, I finished my run one day, and Willow Pond Way goes to Sanders Farm Drive, and I make a right onto Sanders Farm Drive, and I see the Monroe County Sheriff's Office vehicle in my driveway, and I continued to run. I turned around and started to run again. And Lindsey Barron of the Monroe County Office of Mental Health sees me. She gets in the Monroe County Sheriff's Office vehicle. I'm running down Willow Pond Way to Wegmans. So I'm running this way. Here comes Lindsey Barron of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office vehicle. And then she's screaming out the vehicle at me. I'm running, and Lindsey Barron screaming, "I want to talk to you, Chris. I'm running. I want to talk to you, Chris, about the surveillance device." I finally stopped, and I said to her, "Lindsey Barron, I'm not talking to you about anything. They bought a camera called surveillance device. They put it on this building in 2025 Penfield Road to get cocked crime-free. We're not having any conversation." And she left. I didn't have any conversation with her. So you buy a surveillance device from me, you party-switching stooge, buffoon, and skinhead Todd Baxter. I call it a surveillance device, and then you're calling Lindsey Barron, Monroe County Office of Mental Health on me. Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, Monroe County. What's that called? See that land right there? That land has no ownership because Timothy Murphy, the Monroe County Office of Real Property, can't confirm it. Now, down over here, there's the concrete. I walk outside one day, I see nobody owns that land, and walk back on my residence. This is why you need to fire $67,000 Shannon Meyer. Layla Kumar Shah and Nayran Shah don't have the documentation for this. And when I contacted Timothy Murphy, the Monroe County Office of Real Property Tax Service, he can't confirm it. How does that land have any ownership? If they haven't been there for 7 years cutting the grass at 7 a.m., then I'm going to conclude what is the facts, which nobody owns that land. How is the crime to walk out? You see where that concrete is? I walked out, that's Sanders Farm Drive that you can see at the end of a parking lot that you could walk through Todd Baxter, Sanders Door without being arrested, but I will. I walk outside one day, see nobody owns that land, walk back on my residence. How's that a crime, Todd Baxter? You still employ $67,000 Shannon Meyer, don't you? I'm going to contact her directly about writing a warrant for arrest. There's the parking lot that every citizen of 36,000 in Penfield can walk through, the 700,000 in Monroe County, 17.9 million New Yorkers can make the trek, walk through that parking lot where you can see the concrete not being arrested except for me. Nobody owns that land right next to the parking lot because there's no documentation, and the person in the Monroe County Office of Real Property Tax Service can't confirm it. That's not a crime just to walk outside and say nobody owns that land. Do you understand what I'm saying to you, Todd K. Baxter? Are you so corrupt and indecent that the facts and the truth cannot penetrate that addled brain of yours? Cost of this valid purchase with taxpayer dollars by Monroe County Sheriff Todd K. Baxter fixed to a building in 2025 Benefit Road to monitor Christopher Child, 26 Sandra Farm Drive, walks through the parking lot next to the building, lunatic fringe. Todd, do you know what I'm going to read next as I look for the photograph of it? Because I don't have it attached in that email. I'm going to look for your employees underwater in a pool is what I'm going to be looking for, which I don't have on my phone. And I'm really upset that I don't have it. So I'm just going to read this. The cost of taxpayers for photography session approved by Monroe County Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, photo of 10 Monroe County Sheriff Office employees underwater in a pool. Do you know what I'm talking about? Again, for 18 months, I've demanded this. Ryan Fisher in Atlanta. The cost for a hotel and plane ticket for Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee Ryan Fisher attended the Super Bowl in Atlanta, Georgia with his canine dog Lola on February 3rd, 2019. This is Animal House for you. You're going to Watkins Glen and you're sitting in a race car? You're sending Ryan Fisher to Atlanta, Georgia? You have sent your employees, I believe, out of Monroe County multiple times, perhaps 50 plus times. I will write a separate FOIL for all your travel expenses outside of Monroe County because I believe that it's Junket City there at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. And I'll also write a separate FOIL for how much it cost for you to be at Watkins Glen. Did you stay in a hotel room? Did you take $131,000 Corey Brown? Did you take your groupies and flunkies with you so they could all sit around and tell you how terrific and wonderful you are, these Kool-Aid drinkers? What were you doing in Watkins Glen, which is totally disconnected from being a sheriff of Monroe County? What are you doing sitting on a horse in Watkins Glen? You are such a joke, a buffoon, and a stooge, and you don't know it. This is why you're a joke. And stooge. You got your employees that are 20 pounds overweight, 30 pounds overweight, 40 pounds overweight. That's why you put them at the jail. The overweight employees are at the jail. I'm around these Monroe County Sheriff Office employees that are 60 plus years of age and overweight. Why do you forcibly retire these guys? You put them at the jail because you're concerned about them being in their vehicles and being out on the streets where there is real crime and violence. That's why they're at the jail. You have one employee at the jail. He's in the vicinity of 70 years of age because he was on the elevator. When I went down to the room to exercise where the weight training equipment is, he was standing right outside the elevator when I got out. He is at least 70 years old, and I believe you know exactly what I'm talking about. If he is 70 years old or in that vicinity, he could possibly be a Monroe County Sheriff Office employee for 40 years. And the reason why I cite him is it's a disgrace to someone that age as a uniformed Sheriff Office employee at the jail or anywhere in the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. Is I want to see a list of your employees that have been with the Monroe County Sheriff Office the longest. Do you have employees that are like him, that are past the age of 62, past the age of 65, and how long have they been Sheriff Office employees? I want to see a list of your employees at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office that have been there for 30 plus years. And if they've been there for 30 plus years, in all likelihood, they're over 60. Do you, Todd Baxter, understand that Americans retire at 62 and 65, and this is the way it works? What you're going to do when I write this separate FOIL for your employees at the jail and their length of service is refuse because you're corrupt. You're overweight too, Todd Baxter. So what are the physical training standards at the Sheriff's Office? You have none, and you're overweight, and it doesn't matter to you that you're overweight because you're a joke. They and your Monroe County Sheriff, Todd K. Baxter, rehired Michael Rather after his 20-year career with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office ended. This is why you're a joke and why I used that word before I read this FOIL. I went right for his name when I first acquired the payroll because I thought he was a double dipper And then I could use that upon you. And then when I contact the controller's office, Thomas B. DiNapoli, I could say, here you have this double dipper. And I could contact the Democrat Chronicle and say it's double dipper is $0. A $0 public employee, because you know that's a public relations catastrophe for you if he's collected his retirement paycheck and a present paycheck. You pay private money to work the Marvin County Sheriff's Office, Michael Rather. Do you still employ this guy? Is he still there? Because I have been talking about him for 18 months. And this is why corruption doesn't know it's corrupt. And corruption is indifference to corruption, which is what you are, Todd Baxter. You are totally indifferent to the fact that you're corrupt because you employ $0 Michael Rather. Or do you? Did you let him go? You should fire him immediately, if that's the right word. Or just tell him he needs to be permanently retired. And I don't want you to. I'm going to send registered mail return receipt to the sheriff's office, and then if he signs it, then I'll know he's still there. I'm going to send it to you, Michael Rather. See these cards here that I'm using upon your party-switching boss? I'm going to put your name on this because I want to see that you signed it, or at least that you received it. Then I'll know you're still there at $0. You do not, you party-switching buffoon skinhead, Todd K. Baxter, separate the violent inmates from the non-violent inmates. I'm in there with a man charged with murder. I'm in there with the arsonists, the rapists, the wife beaters. Quote, I beat the bitch, end quote. This is what I heard a man say to another inmate when I was sitting there eating. Separate the non-violent inmates from the violent inmates. And I know there's a gray area, so figure out what that gray area is, you idiot from hell. The name in charge of every inmate at Marvin County Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, Marvin County Jail from January 2018 to October 7, 2022. 3 names, Sandra Doorley. I believe I have 3 prosecutors of silence, at least 3. Unless you've somehow unleashed the whole district attorney's office on me and every single employee of the district attorney's office is one of my prosecutors. There should be 3 names. Do you understand me, Sandra Doorley? And what you're going to do is give me the official finger of Brooklyn, New York when I demand these 3 names. Documentation for the case for Christopher Todd just before John P. Menzo Jr. in Pemberton Town Court. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? She stood there in total silence when I looked at her. How am I in jail when a prosecutor doesn't talk in court? Total silence from this hack. What's her name, Sandra Doorley? Documentation for the case for Christopher Todd just before Paul C. Menzo in Pemberton Town Court. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? This is the 5'2" 3-piece suit boy. What's his name, Sandra Doorley? This is the one I have the greatest animosity for, this guy. I walked right up to him. And I said to him, he stood straight ahead and I'm to his side. And I got about 6 inches from him. I said, you're going to stand there in total silence? You're not going to say one word? And he didn't say one word. What's his name? What's this boy's name? You refused. This is why you're corrupt. Documentation for the case for Christopher Todd just before Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? The last time at 99 Exchange before Alex Renzi, were you just summoning me to come in there? I'm at my temporary residence, and then I get this document that compels me to be in New York State Supreme Court. What am I doing in New York State Supreme Court when I think I'm finished and done? Because somebody at your district attorney's office decided I should be in jail, and it's these 2 females. Because when I got in there, I looked to my left and I don't see anybody, and then I turned around and looked behind me, and these 2 females are against a wall about 50 feet away in this star chamber. What are their names? Did these 2 females that work for you, if in fact I'm correct about this, because I don't have the arrogance, I'm right about everything. Did these 2 females who are against a wall in Alex Renzi's New York State Supreme Court courtroom compel me to be in his courtroom so they could deliver me to Marvin County Jail? What's the answer? And what are their names? Do you have documentation for the appearance of every defendant? So when a defendant like me demands to know names of prosecutors, that could simply be disclosed. And the answer is no. What are the names of these 2 females? And what are the names of all my prosecutors of silence? A prosecutor's never talked in court for me, you district attorney from hell. And I've been in jail 6 times. Pay attention, Pemberton Town Court of $28,000 Paul C. Metzer and $34,000 James P. Money Jr. Your retired John P. Menzo Jr. has a list of defendants. I want to see it. It will include Daniel Blouse III, who he has a personal relationship with and the family. He doesn't recuse himself from the appearance, from Daniel Blouse III's appearance as accused child rapist in Penfield. I want to see a list of every single defendant in Pemberton Court, and you refuse, and this is why you're corrupt. Paul C. Metzer and James P. Money Jr. List of defendants in Pemberton Court for John P. Menzo Jr. List of defendants in Pemberton Court for James P. Money Jr. A list of defendants in New York State Supreme Court before Alex Renzi. What's not to understand? You do fail to understand. The English language that I just used in reading every single one of those Freedom of Information law documents is totally irrelevant to you. It does not matter to you that demanding information at all. Why is that? Sandra, Doorley, and Todd, Baxter. And your employees drive over to my residence, and there they are right outside where I used to live at 26 Sandra Front Drive. I would go to the sink. I did this 2 or 3 times. I took the photograph. This photograph here is from sink. And the other photographs is what I don't have anymore because of my illegal eviction. I showed that previously. That's the United States House of Representatives patch, and that's the United States Senate sticker that I bought in the gift shops when I was there. That's gone. This is the obliteration of my life by my psychopath landlords, Giuseppe Spano and Anthony Spano. When I write the criminal complaint that will include this YouTube, and I detail what they've done to me where I have nothing, I own nothing. You will not arrest Giuseppe Spano and Anthony Spano because you, Todd Baxter, don't know what constitutes a crime. If I'm incorrect and they are arrested, my psychopath landlords from hell, Giuseppe Spano and Anthony Spano, you, Sandra Doorley, will not prosecute Giuseppe Spano and Anthony Spano. They locked the doors and locked me out without a court order. I talked to the Tenant Defense Project. I've talked to other individuals too. It requires a court order, 1, to lock a tenant out, even without a lease, and 2, to take that tenant's personal possessions to a storage locker, which is what these 2 psychopaths did to me. Do you understand what I'm telling you, Sandra Doorley? You functioning with your health and radical decline about what my landlords from hell, Giuseppe Spano and Anthony Spano, did to me. 1, they locked the doors without a court order. 2, they took every single thing I own to a storage locker where I no longer own those things because my sister Barbara Ann refused to pay for it. And my relationships have been destroyed too. Like my sister will say, Chris, why are you being arrested? And it is difficult for me to explain this to her in the way I want to because it's my sister. I can say what I want to you, but I will not use certain language with my sister Barbara. I will be as brutal and direct as possible with you. And I will not do that with my family members. My relationship with my sister has been destroyed because of you. And I no longer have what's on that refrigerator, which is really the best times in 5 years I was in Washington, D.C. Because I would look at the House of Representatives patch. I think of my ex-girlfriend, Mindy, who I work with, who's a House staffer. And I look at the Senate sticker, and I think about my friend Greg Walk, who I work with. These are the best days that are no longer with me, mentally. Because of my landlords from hell, Giuseppe Spano and Anthony Spano, that you will not arrest, that you will not prosecute. Because you, Todd Baxter, don't know what constitutes a crime. And you, Sandra Doorley, you're totally indifferent to the obliteration of the life of an innocent citizen. So. Now, you will sign. Again, this is the receipt. I'm going to fill this out. I'm going to send this to you relentlessly. 5 more times, 10 more times, 15 more times, 50 more times, 100 more times you're going to receive in this. Even when I move away from Rochester, New York, and Monroe County, which I'm in the process of doing, if I'm in Albany, New York, or Washington, D.C., I will still be in contact with you demanding information. And I'm going to contact the United States Department of Justice, the United States Attorney for the Western District of New York, Trinity Ross, and the Office of Governor Kathy Hochul, and I will attempt to demonstrate your corruption by refusing to provide information to me, such as the names of my prosecutors with silence. What is wrong with you, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, and what is wrong with you, District Attorney Sandra Doorley? And the answer is simple. You, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, and you, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, are corrupt.